Once WWE stars of the 2000s were more grounded in reality as opposed to the mental 90s with their wrestling plumbers, race car drivers, and whatever the hell Fantasio was, that's not to say that the new millennium didn't usher in its fair share of utterly bonkers gimmicks. From the dying days of the controversial attitude era through the blood-soaked ruthless aggression era and beyond, there were some eyebrow-raising characters alongside the likes of Man in Trunks Randy Orton, Man in Trunks Batista, and Man in Trunks Brock Lesnar, especially in the frightening, lawless land of WWE CW. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 weirdest WWE gimmicks of the 2000s. Join us.
But before we start, today's list is sponsored by the great people at NordVPN. We at Cultaholic truly believe that NordVPN is the best service of its kind. So first of all, it's super easy to use. Connect with one click or enable auto-connect for zero-click protection. There are over 5,300 servers in 60 countries, which is a hell of a lot. It also has amazing speed. It's confirmed by the speed tests. NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there. And it's on every major platform: Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, Linux. Even your Android TV supports NordVPN. So here's how I use NordVPN. I live in the United Kingdom, but with NordVPN I could be anywhere in the world virtually and access content from those regions. This means if I fancied it, I could sign up to a certain wrestling network in a different location for a much cheaper price. And if I happen to live in the US, I could sign up for that certain wrestling network even though it doesn't really exist in the States anymore. I think you might get what I'm hinting at. You can change your location with one click. Super easy to use. It's the equivalent of buying a cup of coffee every month. A small price to pay, I'm sure you'll agree, for premium cybersecurity and access to a whole host of entertaining content. There's even a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if NordVPN isn't for you, then no bother, you get your money back. So grab our exclusive NordVPN deal right now by heading to nordvpn.com/cultaholic, the link's in the description, or you can use the code Cultaholic. Start your plan today with a huge discount, plus one additional month for free, plus a free bonus welcome gift too. Isn't that lovely? And remember, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee. If it's not for you, get your money back, but I promise you will not regret it.
Number 10, MORDECAI. The Undertaker. He's a bit weird, isn't he? What with being a zombie, but also a hillbilly biker, but also a satanic prophet of death? If only there was some sort of anti-Undertaker to challenge his evil beliefs. Well, that mantle fell to MORDECAI, basically a super zealot Christian albino, complete with wispy white hair and mad barbed wire covered cross. He promised to rid the world of sin, led the audience in prayer, and everything looked like it was building to a showdown between the Pale Rider and the Phenom. But then, everything fell off a cliff, and after 3 matches on TV, wins over Scotty 2 Hotty and Bob Holly, and a loss to Rey Mysterio, the pasty-faced wonder was booted off of TV and out of WWE, and would not be seen again until he became Kevin Thorne, WWE CW's answer to Dracula, complete with big you-know-what goth girlfriend Ariel. Now, no offense, but MORDECAI is a far more imposing name than Kevin. Sorry, Big Sexy. Number 9, the Zombie and Macho Libre. In 2006, owners of black t-shirts and straggly beards united in joy when WWE announced that ECW was coming back, baby! Woo! Yes, the controversial cutting-edge home of Raven, Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer and company, and seeing as how the ECW one-night stand pay-per-views in 2005 and 2006 played out, it seemed like it was going to be business as usual. Then, on the debut episode, a zombie came to the ring. He grunted, he growled, he got twatted by the Sandman and promptly buggered off. Things stayed crap on episode 2 when Macho Libre came out, aka ECW original Tony DeVito dressed as Jack Black doing a Macho Man impression. Yeesh. Sandman battered him too. Number 8, Snitsky. You would think Snitsky would be exactly what Vince McMahon would look for in a wrestler, jacked, imposing, and with a first name like Gene. But how his WWE career panned out was anything but normal. First, he accidentally caused Lita to lose her unborn child, so to prove it wasn't his fault, he punted a baby doll into Rosie on an episode of Raw, because of course he did. This is professional wrestling after all. Then, after baby punting was off the menu, Big Gene said, "Hell, I'm weird enough, so I may as well have a foot fetish too." Now, we're not kink shaming here at Cultaholic, but why would anyone pay to see a wrestler with the character of licks feet for saucy gratification? Clearly nobody, as soon Snitsky would shave off all his hair, wax his eyebrows, and adopt the gimmick of man who doesn't brush his teeth because he's a filthy Doyle. Like all crap gimmicks at this time, Snitsky was sent to ECW for a final hurrah before eventually requesting his release in 2008. Number 7, Eugene. WWE are tone deaf at the best of times, but possibly no more so than when they greenlit Eugene. The kayfabe nephew of Eric Bischoff, Eugene was quite simply a grown man with severe learning difficulties who was taken advantage of, routinely beaten, and embarrassed on national television. The whole affair was quite nasty, really, exemplified by Sandman telling poor Eugene to beg for his life at ECW One Night Stand 2006, despite Eugene doing nothing but trying to celebrate ECW's legacy. Fair play to Nick Dinsmore, the man who pitched and then portrayed the gimmick, as he was a talented wrestler and really gave his all to the character, but it had a very short shelf life and made many fans feel very uncomfortable. This sort of gimmick would never fly today, and really shouldn't have flown then either. Number 6, Heidenreich. Once pitched as a Nazi stormtrooper frozen in time, like the worst version of Captain America ever, Heidenreich instead was, well, Heidenreich. First, he was controlled by Little Johnny, who was meant to be the soul of his inner child trapped in a doll. This was dropped before the reveal, thank Christ. Then, after the frozen Nazi idea was mercifully shot down, Heidenreich instead terrorized SmackDown as a poetry-reciting oddball who may or may not have sodomized Michael Cole. Yes, we all know the skit, and whilst we all felt unnerved by it, you can bet that WWE, and Vince specifically, found it hysterical. Heidenreich then teamed with fellow freak Snitsky, because bloody hell, why the hell not at this point? Naturally, WWE pivoted away from this and made him a friendly, marching, hugging guy, drawing the ire of Eminem, who battered him as he ate chocolate. And then, weirdest of all, WWE had him become a member of the Legion of Doom, reigning as WWE Tag Champion with Animal for over 90 days. I'm not making any of this up, and all of this happened in the span of just 2 years. Number 5, Hornswoggle. Whilst WWE have often featured little people as performers, none have had as long and storied of a run as that of Hornswoggle. First introduced as Little Bastard, an actual leprechaun covered in filth who grunted a lot, Hornswoggle's character development reads like a Lewis Carroll fever dream. After skulking about under the ring for a year, Swoggle made his way to the Cruiserweight division, where he reigned as the last champion in the title's lineage. Then he was revealed as Vince McMahon's son, then as Finley's son, then JBL threw a bin at him and he joined D-Generation X, and somewhere along the way, Father Christmas granted him the power of speech. The unfortunate thing about Hornswoggle's stint is that he embodied WWE's philosophy of, we don't actually know how to book endings to angle, so let's throw Hornswoggle in as a punchline. Hence why he was Vince's kid, and the anonymous Raw general manager. Hell, if he was around in 1999, there is a good chance he would have ended up as the higher power. Number 4, Paul Burchill. In 2006, the Pirates of the Caribbean films were the biggest thing on the planet, so of course there was a wrestling pirate on SmackDown. The honour fell to Paul Burchill, who claimed that he was a descendant of Blackbeard and would spend the next few months titting about with swords and Spanish doubloons and all that jazz. Of course, it became quite popular, especially as Burchill would swing into his matches on a big rope, eventually getting William Bloody Regal to tag as his buccaneering best mate. Eventually though, the gimmick was scrapped, as Vince McMahon allegedly had no idea that the Pirates of the Caribbean was actually a thing and doubted that a scurvy dog could be a fan favourite. Undeterred, Burchill stuck around, and instead of swashbuckling and plundering the Seven Seas, he made his home on ECW, where else, where it was insinuated that he enjoyed frequent games of hide the sausage with kayfabe sister Katie Lee. Right, let's all move quickly on, shall we? Number 3, Kizarny. Wizelcome Tizzo Tizzy Kizarnavel. Bollocks to this. In 2008, mysterious vignettes started airing of a blonde, wild-eyed man in a carnival talking gibberish. Ladies and gentlemen, Kizarny was about to arrive. The videos continued for weeks as Kizarny talked, well, carny, and the joke wore thinner than Rikishi's thong. Eventually, Kizarny made his debut in January 2009, defeating MVP in singles action with a crap DDT. He would compete in a battle royal for a spot in the Elimination Chamber, turn up in a backstage skit with Edge, then would be released after just 2 months on TV. Better known on the independent scene as Sin Bodhi, Bodhi described the Kizarny character as the love child of Jake Roberts and Doink. What a horrifying thought. In all fairness, Kizarny himself had a half-decent look and had friends in high places like longtime mates Edge and Christian. But unfortunately, the Kizarny gizimic Wizoz Shizite. Number 2, the Boogeyman. In 2005, WWE realised that there wasn't enough spooky bollocks going on, so went back to the glory days of the 90s and unleashed the Boogeyman upon the world. Unlike fellow ghoulish boys Kane, The Undertaker, and even Papa Shango, there wasn't any explanation for the Boogeyman. He was simply some old fella who ate worms and head-butted clocks. But who needs explanations when you can watch him eat a giant tumour off of Jillian Hall's face, or scare Booker T and Sharmell so badly that he gave Booker his most embarrassing WrestleMania defeat this side of Triple H. To be fair to the strange swine, he racked up the wins, defeating the likes of JBL and The Miz while building an undefeated streak. Then, Finlay beat him, so the Boogeyman brought out Little Boogeyman and the two leathered Fit and Hornswoggle. Despite being pushed heavily, no one was ever really that arsed about Big Boogie, and soon he was sent to, you guessed it, WWE where he became a jobber to the stars before finally getting released in 2009. Number 1, Kerwin White. Chavo Guerrero cannot catch a break, can he? After everyone finally forgot that he had a love affair with a hobby horse in WCW, Chavo enjoyed a historic run on SmackDown with Uncle Eddie as part of the vaunted SmackDown 6, and had a good spell as the Cruiserweight Champion. Then, seemingly out of the blue, Chavo said, "Why be known as a respected wrestler?" renounced his Mexican heritage, and instead embraced the Anglo-American way. Dyeing his hair blonde and driving a golf cart to the ring, the world were lucky enough to meet Kerwin White. If this was someone new, it would have been almost, just about, maybe close to passable, but this was Chavo bloody Guerrero. As White, Guerrero was basically a racist white man, beating up and making suggestive remarks to non-white people, eventually drawing the ire of Shelton Benjamin. A pre-Spirit Squad Dolph Ziggler got in on the act as Kerwin's gormless caddy, and WWE laughed all the way to the bank, until they realised the gimmick drew $0. The Kerwin White saga somehow lasted 5 months, only ending due to the tragic passing of Latino Heat in November 2005.